Hello students, welcome to the first PUC economics class of Gopalswamy PU College. I am Suma, economics lecturer. In today's session, let us discuss about the overall unemployment situation of our country. Under the lesson employment, this is the last session. So, in our previous sessions also, we dealt with the topics of rural unemployment as well as urban unemployment. Today, let us discuss about the overall unemployment and what are the causes for it and the remedies for it. Before we move towards this topic of overall unemployment, as you have all studied that a worker is a person who has involved himself or herself in any of the economic activity which is legal in nature and which is into the production of any goods or generation of any services. So, all those persons who belong to the category of working for an economic and legal activity which is into the production of goods and services are called as the laborers or called as the workers. So, India is now growing with lots of improvement in terms of GDP, but the employment growth is not growing accordingly. There is a greater disproportion between the ratio of the growth of GDP as well as growth of employment, and this is attributed to many reasons like technological growth, development of artificial intelligence. There are lots of substitution of employees due to the availability of ultra modern machineries. Then you can ask that who are all they in our population who are not workers but they are eating, they are getting all the basic needs satisfied. You can take the example of a thief, a beggar as well as a gambler. So, a thief, as you all know, he also works hard. Day and night he travels here and there, he moves from one place to another and he is involved into all kind of physical activity to steal the money or to be involved in theft. But it is not a legal activity and therefore he is not considered as a worker. Next, who is a beggar? A beggar is not again a worker because even though he moves here and there and he exerts physical labor to get the food out of begging, get the money out of begging, but then also since it is not a legal activity and he is not involved with any kind of production of goods and services, again he is not a worker. Then you can go to the gambler. Who is a gambler? One who goes to the casinos and he plays there and he is involved with betting and all the other illegal activities, and therefore again he is also not a worker because whatever the activity that he is into are not legal activities. So, apart from this, many are there who are again not into any kind of work. So, let us discuss about them also in this session. You all know that we call the total population as labor force who are both involved in a employment or not even involved in any kind of gainful employment. A labor force is one which involves both employed sector, employed people as well as unemployed people. So, the workforce is involving only employed persons. Workforce involves only employed persons and labor force involves both the employed and unemployed persons. So, labor force minus workforce, you will get the unemployed people. Then who are all the unemployed people? Those who are not going to work are unemployed people, you all know, but there also it is categorized into three, that is the people who are unfit for work. Who are unfit for work? Whose age is greater than 60 years and who is below 15 years. We can consider these population which is above 60 years and which is below 15 years are called as people who are unfit for work. So, we can call them as unemployed people. You know that all the state governments will retire the population who are above, who have attained the age of 60 years. So, all those who have attained 60 years of age will be sent out of the job. So, therefore, these people are called as the people who are unfit for work. Children below 15 years, even they are also unfit for work because they are yet to grow physically as well as mentally. In spite of this also, there are lots of child labor is going on. Next one is people unwilling to work. So here comes a lots of people in our country. Here are many of the people categorized. The people who are unwilling to work. You may see lots of people in families and in the society that who are having all types of capabilities to do work, both physically and mentally, but they are not willing to go for work because they don't want to take any kind of risk and they want all their demands to be met with by somebody else. So they are like parasites, they are dependent on somebody else. Even though they serve at home, they do some work at home, but they are not willing to go to work and they are not even willing to be involved in themselves in any kind of production activity or income generating activity. The third category is people who are unavailable for work. This section includes students. The people who are unavailable for work are the students. Though they are above the age of 15 years, they are unavailable for work because they are involved with the career building activity. They are studying to develop their career. They are going for higher education to involve themselves in new careers. The people who are unfit for work, people who are unwilling to work and people who are unavailable for work. All these three categories are covered under this section of unemployed. So, India involves both employed population as well as unemployed population. Next one is the workforce. Workforce involves completely employed person who are gainfully employed in both private sector as well as public sector. Now let us see about the distribution of work by gender. Let us discuss about the distribution of work by gender. That is, there are three categories of work, that is self-employment, casual employment and salaried class. So, under self-employment, 51% of the males are engaged and 56% of females are engaged because they can do their household work, and being a homemaker also they can involve themselves in any of the self-employment activity, and therefore the percentage of females are more in the area of self-employed sector when compared to the males. The second one is casual work, that is there are 29% males are seen here and 31% of females are seen here. And you all know the total, out of the total workforce, 70% of the workforce of India is lying in rural areas. In that also 70% are males and 30% are females, and all these 30% of people, particularly female sector, who are there in any of the activity which helps them to get some earnings to run their family, are involved in this. Third one is salaried class. Here you need that you have to pass through a government examination and you should have the prescribed qualification also to get this. So here you can see the difference between males and females, that is a difference of 7% here. 20% of the employed people who are into regular salaried work belong to males and 13% of the salaried class workers belong to females. So this is due to the difference and discrimination that is made in families between the males and females. Each family wants the males to go for higher education. Their education expenditures are met with by the parents. Parents are willfully, they are ready to spend on the education of a son and rather than a girl, because they think that spending on girls education is a waste because she will go to another house after marriage and they are not going to be benefited out of it. So therefore there is a greater discrimination here, and also the males are getting lots of opportunities to go for higher education from outside their places as well as, and they have lots of opportunities to go for skill development development trainings, as well as they have vast opportunities to go for salaried sector, particularly in some of the restricted areas where it is difficult for female to go and work. In defense also you can see that lots of males are gainfully engaged in the salaried section. This discrimination should be removed, and for that only the government of India is encouraging female education, and it is now has come out with the slogan of Beti Bachao Beti Padhao, because the female feticide is very popular and everywhere it is still in practice. So to curb this, the government of India is standing next to the female sector, and it is giving free midday meals and free education, and in most of the government jobs also the application fees are not collected from the female sector. Government is giving lots of encouragement and it is taking up very stringent actions against female feticide. In spite of that also, there is a greater discrimination with the involvement of female sector into any of the formal sector jobs compared to the male sector. These days, unemployment is again caused by not only the discrimination between the males and females, but also because of the intervention of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, if it continues to grow like this, definitely in future it is going to substitute 50% of the existing jobs. So 50% of the population who are involved in any kind of employment will be replaced by the machineries or computers and robots, and therefore they will be out of jobs. So this is the main reason, and today you are hearing the word as jobless growth. The GDP is improving. The GDP at the time of independence was only 2, but now India has witnessed an improvement in the GDP of 11.04 trillion international dollars. As you have all seen, GDP is growing. The GDP is growing. It is growing ups, it is seeing ups and downs, and it is growing, wherein the employment growth is not seen accordingly. Employment growth is just going some in a meager range, and it is somewhere here, and the employment growth is not in proportion to the growth of our GDP, and this is attributed to the development of modern technology. Lots of jobs are substituted by the latest technologically developed machineries, and therefore the employment growth is not happening, and this is again a very important cause for unemployment in our country. In our previous session, we discussed that there are only 6% of the population in our country are involved with the formal sector, and 94% of the working population are involved in the informal sector. So you all have learnt about the causes for informalization also. The causes is that the agricultural earnings are declining day by day, and there is a greater decline in the appointments that are done by the industrial sector, because lots of machineries are replacing the human labor, and also there is a decrease in the growth of organized sector, as well as there is a greater demand. There is an increase in demand for the casual laborers, because if once they are appointed as regular workers in the formal sector, even at the time when they are not having jobs, when they are not having work also, the employer should pay them salaries and all social security measures should be met with. So therefore the demand for casual laborers are increasing in these days, and therefore again the informalization of job is going on. Now let us discuss about the major topic of this session, that is the causes for unemployment, and after that let us see about what are the effects of unemployment as well as how to overcome this unemployment situation. So at first, the causes for unemployment are discussed here. The first and foremost cause is that large population. You all know that India is the second largestly populated country, and the growth is also very rapid. The population growth is increasing. Our GDP is not improving to that proportion. The huge population of our country is the biggest cause for the biggest burden for the overall development of our country, and that is the first and foremost cause for unemployment. Second one is lack of vocational skills. People are having having the graduation completed and they are possessing lots of degrees with them. But all these degrees that are generated from universities are not training them to have vocational skills. There should be overall development in the education policy itself, and it is being done and it is coming into effect from next year. To overcome this only, the government of India has brought a structural change in the educational policy, and it will come into effect from next year, and this helps the graduates and the undergraduates also to have more vocational training, and they can opt one such career in which they are willing to, and they can have their own professionalism in it, and they can earn lots of money out of it. The third one is low education levels of the population of our country, particularly since it is a male dominated society. In most of the parts of our country, females are not sent for higher education. Getting the under education or getting the minimum education itself is very difficult for females in some of the parts of our country, and it is difficult for them to go for higher education, and these low education levels are again one among the cause for the unemployment. Fourth one is lack of private investment. There are lots of things that can be done by private investors because India is following the pattern of mixed economy. It encourages private investment also. To one such huge population, no country can provide employment, and the formal sector is supported with only 6% of the population, and rest of 94% of the population are involved in the informal sector, and therefore the private participation is very much required. The private industries should develop and investors should come forward to involve themselves in the industrial setup, and these industries should give the employment opportunity to the nearby population, and this is not happening. And in most of the areas, people who are very well with the family properties and wealth, again they are also not coming for investing in the industries, and the money is being wasted as a dead capital. And another reason is that political instability, that is also a major hindrance for the private sector to invest in the major industries. And fifth one is slow industrial growth. As I said, we are not developing industrially, so this is the biggest reason for unemployment. We are having lots of natural resources, we are having abundant human resources, but the opportunities are only missing. So if we provide the opportunity for the existing scientifically educated human resources, they will get employment as well as country will also witness growth. The next one is seasonality of agricultural occupation. You all know that the monsoon is gambling over the lives of Indian farmers. So the people here are dependent highly on the monsoon rains and the seasonality of agricultural occupations, because agricultural sector, that is a primary sector, will not provide a job for on all the 365 days. People who grow the perennial crops or biennial crops will stay for lots of the months in a year unemployed. So this is again one more major cause for unemployment in our country. The next one is losses incurred by small scale industries, tiny industries, the cottage industries. This will hamper their confidence and they will not go for another further ventures of developing the small scale industries, and they will wind up there itself and they stay unemployed. Next one is artificial intelligence. Intervention of artificial intelligence is now replacing 50% of the existing jobs. Almost everywhere you can see the usage of artificial intelligence, and most of the human labor that were involved in those activities are being replaced by these machineries, these robots, and also these computerized work. So therefore unemployment is being increased with this also. Next one is immobility of labor. People in our country are not ready to move from one place to another place because they are attached to families. They have some of their own family business, or maybe emotionally attached to the parents, and they are finding lack of money for going for higher education, and there is greater immobility. When once they are settled in one place, it is very difficult for them to come out of that place to go for another area for higher education or for higher salaries. The next one is defective planning. Governments are planning lots of things in their budgets, but most of the plans that they create are effective, and there is a greater disproportion between the demand for labor as well as the supply of labor, and this disproportion is not attended by the governments properly, and this defective planning is again leading to the situation of unemployment. The next one is expansion of universities. As the population is growing, the universities are also being introduced in every part of the country. So all these universities are producing the graduates and the postgraduates every year, and the number of the graduates and postgraduates who come out of these universities is more, and most of they are not being properly and gainfully employed after the completion of their education. So again, the people who are educated and who have the prescribed qualification are also not being getting jobs, and this is one more cause for the unemployment, because the opportunities are less when compared to the generation of graduates. Now let's see about the effects of this unemployment. The first one is financial hardship, because when you are not having a job, you won't have money, and this leads to poverty. The financial hardship is very difficult, and therefore it is leading to many of the educated graduates to involve themselves into the suicidal tendency or towards criminal activities. The next one is increase in debt. In the anticipation that they will get a job in future and they can repay all the debt, the educated population are mostly involved into the debts, but when they are not employed, they again increase the debt, and they will be put into a debt trap, and again this is the very important effect of unemployment. The third one is breakdown of families. Because of the inability to feed all the members of a family, the families are being breaking down, and there is lots of nuclear family setups seen everywhere in our country, and the family properties are also being fragmented, and this fragmentation again is leading to the lower development, lower economical growth. Next one is social isolation. Those who are not employed, they will isolate themselves at home, and they will not easily join with the mainstream in the society, and they face a kind of shame. Next one is exploitation of labor. Since there are lots of human resources available for work at lesser wage rates, and those who are already employed in any of the industries or in any of the sectors will be exploited, because if they are once replaced, people are ready to come for the same job with lesser salaries. Next one is industrial disputes. Because there is a greater disproportion between the supply and demand of the labor, the industrial disputes are also very active. Next one is loss of human resources. Out of all kinds of education that they obtain through universities, if they are not gainfully employed in any of the sectors in which they are graduated, again there is a greater loss of human resources. You know that in many of the developed countries, this is the major problem for unemployment, because there is lack of availability of the educated human resources. But in our country, the human resources are not gainfully engaged in any of the income generating activities, and their particular resource itself is being lost. The next one is erosion of confidence. Again, the youth, particularly the educated youth, if they are not involved in any of the employment activities at a proper time, they start losing their confidence, and this erosion of self-confidence leads them to catch the ill health. So therefore, this unemployment should be curbed, and the government should take lots of employment generation activities, as well as even people also should think about involving themselves in self-employment activities, because you all know that self-employment is the best employment, provided if you are ready to adopt yourself into the latest developments in the latest developments that's happening in the technological sector. The Remedies for this unemployment. You have seen about the causes for employment and the effects of employment. So now let us see about the remedies, how to overcome this unemployment situation. The first one is skill development. You have to confront the bias that is happening in our society, that you have to improve your skills. You develop that adaptability to the changing scenario in both social and economical sector. So therefore you have to gain lots of skills. Research and innovative activities should be encouraged, and people should be into the production of the goods and services which are highly helpful to the society. The next one is adding more creativity. Each one is born with one or the other talent. So you should add more creativity to the talent whatever you possess, and so that you can sell the talent that you have, and you can create some product or you can generate some service out of the creativity, then you can earn money. Next one is increase in professionalism. This is lacking in our country. People are not ready to update themselves into the professionalism because they want a comfortable white collar job which fetches them a good salary at the end of the month, and they want to be engaged themselves with 10 to 5 job. So they are not ready to take up additional risks. It is leading them towards the problem of unemployment, because we have to adopt ourselves with the latest professionalism, and so that we cannot be replaced, because we are living in one such world which is finding competition. Every second is witnessing lots of competition. So to overcome this competition, we have to update ourselves and we have to adopt the professionalism. The next one is stay on top of your health. This is the major cause why people are removed from jobs. So there is lot of labor turnover being happened on the basis of the ill health. So every time who are willing to work should be staying on their top of their health. Always it is both physical as well as mental, and because the physical fitness of a person is very, very important to employ himself in any of the gainful employment. The next one is learn to live with less money. Today we are living with lots of online marketing world. Whatever we see we need to buy, and everything is bought, and people are having a kind of hunger towards product. Whatever they see, anything new they want to buy it. Anything that is new they want to buy it. And in our yesteryears people lived with less money and they are contented. Today this is missing. Contentment is missing, and therefore lots of unemployment is also seen. So if you are contented with what you have, then you can easily overcome the unemployment. In search of the happiness outside somewhere, people are going in search of jobs and they are not getting it, and they are getting the depression and frustration. So better to learn to live with whatever you have, then you will be happy. The next one is improve your capabilities. That is, okay, I am graduated, I have done post graduation, so it is not the limit. For a learner, sky is the limit. You can go and learn anything and everything around the world if you are willing yourself to improve your capabilities and adapt to the existing situations. So that is very, very important to overcome unemployment. The last one is involve in volunteer services. Okay, you did not get any job, so don't sit idle. You go for some voluntary services. You involve yourself in any of the NGOs, non-government organizations, not-for-profit organizations, so that you can engage yourself in any of the activities, and after seeing your job and your commitment, you may be given incentives, you may be allowed some bonus, and finally you may be converted into a regular employee of the same NGO or the voluntary organizations. So it is in the attempt that we make that we can engage ourselves. If we think that somebody should open the door, knock the door and give me an opportunity, no, it is that you should only search the opportunities. It is the youth that who should be ready to search for opportunities, and therefore education is very, very important, and along with education, necessary vocational training, skill development, good good health and commitment towards the job, everything is required. So with this I conclude this lesson of employment, and today everywhere we are finding the people involved in the informal sector and they are running the life with this sector only. So it is nowhere that India is having lack of job opportunities. India is having lots of job opportunities, provided if the population of India is willing to find one in that. So if you wait for the jobs that should come to your door, you will never get it, and you should go in search of it. And definitely India is not a country which is worst hit by unemployment. It is still a world of full of opportunities, and it is still a country of full chances for adaptability to the changing scenario around the world. So with this I conclude this session. Thank you.